You've heard it all before. Politicians screaming, invasion. Tabloids splashing pictures of boats across the front page. They use language designed to make you feel like the country's been overwhelmed, that our borders have collapsed and that we're staring down an unprecedented crisis. They want you to be scared. They want you to believe that your way of life is under threat from an endless flood of people. It's a powerful story, and it's a story built on a foundation of distortion. But what if I told you that this entire narrative, this carefully constructed myth, could be dismantled by just one number, a carefully verifiable statistic that completely changes the picture? This is the number they hope you never bother to check, because once you see it, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. That number is 16. Yes, 16. That's how many asylum applications the UK received for every 10,000 people living here in 2024. Let's put that number in context and see why it changes everything. The first and most powerful myth is that the UK has been invaded or flooded. The imagery is deliberate. Waves of people, an unstoppable tide. But the facts? They tell a very different story. In the year ending March 2025, a total of 109,343 people claimed asylum in the UK. In isolation, the number might sound big, but in a country of over 67 million, it represents just 0.16% of the population. And to picture that, imagine a bathtub full of water. The impact of asylum seekers on the population is like adding a single drop of dye. It's barely a trace. To put it another way, for every 10,000 people already in the UK, about 16 applied for asylum. Picture a 10,000 seat concert arena, or maybe a football ground. Out of that entire sold out crowd, just 16 people would represent asylum applicants. That's not an invasion. It's a fraction of a percent. This narrative also deliberately confuses all immigration with asylum seekers. That's like looking at every person who enters a hospital and calling them an emergency patient. In reality, most are there for scheduled appointments. Like people arriving for work and study, asylum seekers are the ones arriving in the ambulance. The idea of a flood also falls apart when you see how the UK has managed before. Since 2022, around 223,400 people arrived from Ukraine. That single group was larger than all the refugees from all countries combined between 2014 and 2021. The system can handle the numbers. It's like a bus driver claiming the bus is too full to pick up 2 people just after dropping off an entire football team. The invasion narrative isn't about numbers. It's about politics. The second myth is that the UK is unfairly shouldering the world's refugee burden. You hear it all the time, don't you? We can't take any more. But the data shows this is just plain wrong. Now, according to the UNHCR's 2024 Global Trends Report, there were an estimated 123.2 million forcibly displaced people worldwide. The overwhelming majority ain't in wealthy Western countries. 2/3 of refugees are hosted in countries right next door to their own. In fact, 73% of all refugees are in low to middle income countries. Countries like Turkey and Iran each host millions. To say the UK is shouldering the burden is like someone who was asked to carry a single shopping bag complaining about doing all the heavy lifting, while their neighbours are next door moving pianos. So where does the UK actually stand? Well, the UK ranked 17th in Europe for asylum applicants per person. The UK had 16 applicants per 10,000 people. The EU average was 22. In the league table of European nations, the UK isn't even in the top half. The idea of Britain is uniquely overwhelmed is fiction. This is perhaps the most corrosive myth, that people arriving on small boats are illegal immigrants. This ignores international law. The article of the 1951 Refugee Convention, which the UK co-wrote, is crystal clear. It states countries shouldn't penalise refugees for how they enter as long as they are fleeing danger. Think of it this way: you don't fine someone for breaking a window to escape a burning house. The priority is saving their life, not fussing over how they got out. Seeking asylum is a human right. Now, recent UK laws have tried to block claims for irregular arrivals, but that doesn't change international obligations. And the proof that these claims are legitimate? It's in the Home Office's own data. The success rate for asylum claims is incredibly high. In the year ending March 2025, the grant rate for people from Sudan was 99%. For Syria, 98%, and for Eritrea, 86%. These ain't people rolling the dice for a better life. The UK's own system is acting as a fact checker, verifying their stories are tragically true. So if the numbers ain't an invasion and the burden isn't unique, what's the real problem? The crisis is a deliberately broken system. The system has become a clogged pipe. The water, the applications, is coming at a manageable rate, but the pipe is so narrow that it's creating a huge, expensive backup. As of March 2025, there was a backlog of nearly 110,000 people waiting for an initial decision. This backlog cost the taxpayer £5.4 billion in the last financial year. A huge chunk of that, £3 billion, was spent on hotels. This is the cost of the overflow, a flood caused not by the water but by the blockage. The obsessive focus on the small number of people arriving by boat is a classic magician's trick. They want you to watch the dramatic gesture of one hand so you don't see what the other is doing, creating a broken system that costs billions. Invasion story serves a political purpose. It manufactures fear, deflects from failure and scapegoats the vulnerable. But it's a narrative built on sand. When you look at the facts, it falls apart. The numbers ain't overwhelming. The burden isn't unique. The claims are, for the most part, genuine. If you believe that this context matters, the facts are more powerful than fear, then please share this video to people who might be scared. And let's change the conversation from one of panic and prejudice to one based on reality and reason. So the next time you hear the word invasion, remember that number. Remember the person asked to carry a single shopping bag, not the piano. Remember that the people making these journeys are fleeing horrors we can barely imagine. This isn't a refugee crisis, it's a crisis of political narrative. The story isn't about a flood of people, it's about a deliberately clogged pipe. The truth is in the data. Don't let them scare you out of seeing it.